Week 11 package bee series for 2026. Let's get started. Oh, drop the smoker there. There's just a little puff at the front entrance, and this hive we had some queen cells because they have been drawing wax like crazy and trying to stay ahead of everybody with the wax drawing. The queen was just taking off like crazy, and so they were going to swarm. And so what I did was pulled the queen, and I left just a couple of swarm cells. They can make some extra space here. But I can tell already it looks like these guys may have done a cast swarm, because there are not too many bees in here. Let me spread this open. And I say they could possibly have done a cast swarm because though I tried to minimize the number of queen cells that they had, I may have missed one or two. I tried to leave them 3. And there's just not a whole lot of extra bees in here right now. They should have made a queen by now. She should be laying. There's a hatched queen cell here. So I'm going to show you. It actually looks like 2 hatched queen cells. So this is what it looks like right there. You can see it was thinned on the end, and then it was chewed open by something that emerged. Watch out there, girl. And it is the same over here. Get that in the frame so you can see it. This one, they're starting to tear it down a little bit. And I know both of these have hatched because the end is open and not the side. So whenever they, basically if one queen hatches first and she goes and kills all the other ones, then she'll sting down through the end and kill the queen while she's still inside of the queen cup. And at that point, then the bees will chew open the side of this queen cell to remove the dead body, basically. And in this case, it certainly looks like both of these, this one and this one up here, it looks like they have both hatched, which would make sense with the smaller amount of population that I'm seeing in here. And there is also a swarm in the swarm trap right over there. And I haven't opened that swarm trap yet, but if I had to guess, I would say that is more than likely what has happened. At this point, I've got, hopefully, a new queen that has gone out on a mating flight, and she could be a little smaller. I'm kind of looking for the queen, but more than anything, I'm looking for eggs at this point just to verify that that whole situation went off correctly and that we actually have indeed a laying queen in this colony. And so I had checkerboarded some frames in the top here so that they would have something to work on and expand the brood nest a little bit, but right now they're only using this center portion, and there is some drawn comb that they're not using out here on both sides. And so to me that just looks like the population has decreased enough that they only have enough bees covering that center section, and so they're not going to use it. Down here we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We still have 6 frames of bees down here. So really kind of slowed down. That is a frame that had honey in it, and they've used that as they went through this transition period where a lot of the other population of bees pulled away. So basically I took the split with the old queen, and then they swarmed again after that. And so that is called a cast swarm, where basically one queen hatches first. She'll make a piping sound and kind of announce her presence, and then all of the other queens that are mature but haven't emerged will respond. And so it's kind of like, hey, I'm here, and then everybody else says, oh, no, I'm here too, and as soon as I get out, we're going to figure this thing out and see who's actually going to be the queen. And So a lot of times what will happen is that first queen to emerge, if there is a chorus of other queens that are about to emerge, instead of going fight all of those, she will just take off and swarm as a virgin queen, swarm with some portion of the bees. The next queen that hatches, she could do the same thing, and that's where those cast swarms really put a hurt on the hive, because it just dwindles the numbers. And in certain genetics, I've had some hives before that I got from somebody that just had an incredible amount of swarming behavior, and they would throw like 3 and 4 cast swarms at a time, and it's really not a good situation because they can swarm themselves to death. And that's why I always try to leave behind just 2 or maybe 3 swarm cells, so that that risk of them doing a cast swarm is much smaller. And apparently in this situation I left 3, and that was too many. So that's kind of the risk. You try to balance leaving enough viable queens in case something goes wrong, that there's a backup plan, but you also have that risk that that backup plan becomes their primary plan. So again, it's just part of working with the bees, working with nature, trying to let them do what they want to do, but we try to steer them if we can, I guess is the best way to say it. And so right now, I should have a queen in here. We've had emergence, and there she is. Okay. So I'm gonna look real quick, see if I can see some eggs. We're in week 11. I've given her time for this whole situation to develop and for her to mature, go out on mating flights, and then come back and start laying. And she's still a very small queen, so maybe those initial, I'm almost certain that they have had a cast swarm. And so maybe that cast swarm behavior has kind of set them back a few days, because she is here, but she is not yet laying. I don't see any eggs here, but I'm going to show you. This is what a very young queen looks like. If I can get her in the frame, point to her, and then you can see her right there. So you can see she is larger than the other bees. Her anatomy is different. She has a longer abdomen. So she is a maturing queen, and she is walking on the comb. She's, kind of looking around, sizing things up, and she acts like she would be doing during a laying behavior, but I don't see any eggs just yet. So she could just be a couple of days from laying. So basically at this point, I'm just going to close them back up. And then on the next inspection, we should definitely see eggs and a laying pattern, and we'll know how well she was mated. But really, I'm going to take this top super off of this box, off of this hive, because they don't have the population to defend everything. And while we've still gotten some rain here, we're second week of June, we've been getting some rain, and things are actually, as far as forage goes, we've been doing pretty good. We've got a lot of clover that's still blooming right now, but they've got basically 6 frames up here that they're not using. So I'm going to take the super off, because that was on here when this was a very large colony. And at this point, I want them to kind of close in and more defend what they've got. So I'm also going to remove obviously the queen excluder and this top entrance. I don't want them to have a top entrance that they have to defend either. This super, they had just barely started working on the wax, and they don't have any honey in there, so that's not a loss to be able to be taking that from them at this point. So I'm going to close them back up. And there you go. That's our week 11 inspection. So we've ended up with, now this is 3 colonies if I count that swarm, because I got the split from the original queen that she was just gangbusters, and I couldn't get them drawing wax to stay ahead of her, which is a good thing. These queens are just incredible. And then we got that swarm that's right over there. Pretty sure it came out of here. And we still have the original colony. So one package B with excellent genetics has turned into 3 hives. And so far, everybody looks like they're doing well. We'll just keep a close eye on this one to make sure that they get strong enough and get through this summer dearth. And so far, looks good. Can't complain about getting 3 hives from some package bees. Everybody be blessed.